Mark chapter 3 verse 2 says, "So they watched him closely, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him." The context here is striking. The religious leaders, rather than being concerned with the miraculous power of Jesus to heal, were focused on whether he would break their interpretation of the Sabbath law. The spirit behind this watching was not one of worship or awe, but one of malicious intent. They were lying in wait, ready to pounce on Jesus, hoping he would violate their rigid understanding of the law. The hypocrisy of their hearts is evident. These leaders, who should have been guiding the people to recognize the Messiah, were instead consumed with trapping him. Jesus, the Lord of the Sabbath, Matthew chapter 12 verse 8, was not violating God's law, but their traditions. It reveals a profound spiritual blindness. They had the law, they had the prophets, but they could not see the fulfillment of all these things standing right before them. Their eyes were on the letter of the law, but their hearts were far from God. What makes this even more tragic is the nature of their accusation. They wanted to charge the sinless Son of God with breaking the very law he gave. Their hearts were hardened, just as the hearts of the Israelites were hardened in the wilderness when they grumbled against God. Hebrews chapter 3 verses 8 through 9. This is the same spirit of rebellion that has existed throughout history, a rejection of God's authority and his truth. The irony in this situation is hard to miss. The religious leaders were the ones breaking the law, not Jesus. In their eagerness to accuse him, they violated the commandment to love their neighbor as themselves. Leviticus chapter 19 verse 18. They showed no compassion for the man who needed healing, only a cold-hearted focus on legalistic details. Jesus exposed their hypocrisy in the same way he did when he told them that it was lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Luke chapter 6 verse 9. They were so intent on trapping him that they missed the mercy and grace of God. In our own lives, are we like these Pharisees, watching others for the slightest misstep, more concerned with upholding our traditions than showing compassion and grace? Have we become so fixated on rules that we forget the heart of God's law, which is love for him and for others? Jesus' actions on the Sabbath show us that mercy triumphs over judgment. James chapter 2 verse 13. God is not interested in rigid, heartless obedience. He desires a heart that reflects his own. This passage is a warning. Just as the Pharisees missed the Messiah because of their self-righteous blindness, so too can we miss the work of God in our lives when we are consumed with legalism, tradition, or our own self-righteousness. God sees through our outward actions and looks directly at our hearts. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7. Will he find a heart softened by grace or one hardened by self-righteousness?